Welcome to Secrets of Successful Startups, where we sit down with founders and find out how they're running their businesses. We'll ask the questions you want us to ask, and we'll offer our own insights as well. I'm Laurel Touby. I'm the founder of MediaBistro.com and your host. I'm here today with Jennifer Hill. Jennifer's a legal expert specializing in startups.
Hi,
Welcome.
Laurel. It's great to be here.
Great. And we're here with our guest, our special guest of the day, Cari Sommer, who's the co-founder of Urban Interns. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, before we get started, we've created a little video to kind of bring you up to speed on what Urban Interns is. So let's check out the video.
Looking for an internship or part-time work? Or maybe you're hoping to hire an intern or part-timer. Since February of 2009, Urban Interns has been connecting job seekers and employers. For $49, companies can post a job on the site and spend 30 days combing through a database of job candidates. Candidates themselves pay nothing to create a profile and upload their resume. Urban Interns launched with a database of 40 job seekers. Today, there are close to 25,000. About 250 jobs are currently listed. Urban Interns is seeing its revenue grow too. Between Q1 and Q3 of last year, the company's monthly revenue roughly doubled.
Well, Cari, I have to ask you the most obvious question. Is the recession helping or hurting your business? I mean, when you think about it, companies stop hiring when there's a recession, but yet again, these are interns, so maybe they hire more of them.
Right. Well, we're really focused on the small and growing companies, so we've seen companies continue to hire. We also launched in the middle of the recession, so, for us, we were sort of a counter-cyclical business. So, it's been steady for us. I guess, had we launched before, we might have seen a drop down, but, small and growing companies, they just kind of change the way they hire in tough times, but it doesn't mean that they're not busy. They just might be more apt to rely on part-time help and interns and less so to make full-time hires.
So it sounds like that's really a trend that you capitalized on, which is the fact that small and medium-sized businesses are really focusing more on interns.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you consider success? Are you guys successful?
We think so. I mean, in a number of ways we look at it different ways. First of all, when we hear stories of people who have found opportunities and found employment, I mean, nothing makes us more proud than that, because it's a tough economy. It's tough for job seekers. It's tough for business owners. So anecdotally, when we get those, emails that I found a job and I found an internship and it's turned into my, professional career, that makes us very happy. But certainly as a business, yes, we definitely are proud of what we've accomplished. We've, definitely built a really big brand. We've seen a growth in our database, we've seen a growth in our revenue, so kind of we check all the boxes of how a startup should be doing.
Well, I've noticed that a lot of startups found with co-founders. There's always a second person. And next up, we're going to talk about how Cari found her co-founder and what she learned in the process. When I started Media Bistro, I desperately wanted a co-founder. I looked around, I asked journalists, and nobody wanted to join me in this venture. They were too bored, afraid, I don't know.
How could that be possible, Laurel?
Bored with the idea, afraid of it, who knows. But I ended up going it alone. Cari, you said you adore your co-founder, and I'd like to find out if you have some advice for how to find a co-founder that has complementary skill sets. That's probably one of the things, the most important things, isn't it?
Yes, no, absolutely. My co-founder, Lauren Pratt, has been a really great partner to work with. We have complementary skill sets. We also have a very nice friendship, which really helps things. Running a startup, it can be stressful business. So it's helpful to have somebody to kind of go through some of those issues with. So absolutely, we're very, very fortunate for that. But in terms of finding a co-founder, Lauren and I actually met when we were board members on Step Up Women's Network, the board of Step Up Women's Network. She was a longtime board member. I was the chair of the board. We had a chance to actually see each other in action for a long time. I got to learn about Lauren, that she was incredible when it came to finance. She was actually the CFO of our board. I got to see that she's wonderful with numbers. I learned and I knew that she had worked at IAC for 8 years, certainly brought an expertise in kind of products, internet businesses, internet marketplaces. So that was really great. great coming to the table, knowing that about her, knowing what a great, hard worker she was to be able to be so successful in that kind of organization. So that's definitely, helpful, knowing about, your co-founder and what they've done.
Well, it sounds like she had a really fortunate experience, and that is certainly important to be able to get that experience and see your co-founder in action. Hypothetically, if you'd had to go at this alone, what do you think would have gone wrong? Or if Lauren weren't the right person, what do you think would have happened?
Well, I think it's two separate things. If I had to go at it alone, there are definitely the pieces that I would recognize that I'm not great at, and I would have needed to bring in help, perhaps not as a co-founder. So I don't think, obviously, Laurel's a great example. You don't need a co-founder to be successful. Having the right co-founder is really great. But if there's not that right fit, better than having the wrong co-founder. You could just sort of recognize the skill sets that you need help with and find other ways to hire people, on
Urban Interns for Urban Interns.
Exactly.
What if you and your co-founder want to do the same job? What do you do about that?
That's an interesting one. And for us, we've always had a very natural divide and conquer. I think if you want to do the same job, the question just becomes why and who is better at that. I think part of having a co-founder is you really have to just kind of look at the business. There's a lot to be done in running an early stage company. Understand what skills you're bringing to the table and be willing to say what you're not good at. So if you both want to do the same thing, I don't know. I mean, perhaps take turns doing that and take a chance to see who's getting the better results and then really delegate it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe you should kind of decide up front, like, you're better at this, I'm better at this, and split it. What do you think?
I think that actually can be really helpful. I mean, one of the things that I've seen co-founders do is that they get that so out in front. I mean, obviously the company changes along the way, but they want to be really clear about what their roles are and what their relationship's like, because that relationship is so crucial but so fragile.
Sure.
So, for example, some companies have partnership contracts. Is that something that Urban Interns did?
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely did. More from the point of view, I think in terms of functionally the roles that we played in the company, that's always just been a more natural divide and conquer. Look, when we are focused on product, everybody, all two of us, were focused on kind of the product. When we have a big marketing push, we both focus on marketing. Even within marketing, there's so much to do that we've kind of broken things down. So I'd say the process of breaking things down by task has been one that's more organic. In terms of, kind of the bigger issues of your role in the company, when we brought in investment capital, that was the time that we really needed to kind of put in, into the operating agreement sort of what, our equal partnership looks like and start planning for certain contingencies.
Okay, what is, before we move to another section, what are what's the absolute thing that must be in a partnership contract?
I think definitely what would happen if someone leaves the company. Okay. I think as co-founders, you hear so many stories, and thankfully I haven't encountered this, but you hear so many stories about people having different visions for the company, people wanting different things for their career or whatnot, and you have to really deal with that up front. What will happen?
Okay. Well, I think we've got some lessons here, which are when you're dealing with a partnership, you have to identify what the partners are doing up front, what each person does. You have to have an out in your contract, and you have to have seen the person at work before you join forces with them. You shouldn't just, decide over coffee one day, oh, you can be my partner, because it's like a marriage. You definitely want it to work out. Next up, we're going to talk about money and the difference between angels and smart angels. We're here talking with Cari Sommer, who's the co-founder of Urban Interns, and we're having a fun time. Urban Interns is a marketplace where you can find internships or post your need for an internship and your resume as well, and it's searchable. We want to talk to Cari about money. You went to angels, but you differentiated between angels who are smart and not so smart angels. So tell us, what's the difference?
I think we only have smart angels. I think when we were looking at our angels, more the differentiation for us was looking at smart fits, and for us that meant that people who were a little bit more independent and they were active in the angel scene. We wanted to, try and raise the capital as quickly as we could. We wanted to find people who shared the vision for our company. So our list was not, based on smart angels versus.
So it's not intelligence.
It's not intelligence.
You're
It's more
backing-
about
yeah.
fit. It's more about finding people that are the right fit. And go ahead.
It sounds like that you avoided angel groups, was something that a lot of entrepreneurs are very binary about. Either they want to go to the groups, or they want to find like the set of candidates they know invest a lot.
Right.
How did you go about finding your investors? Were these people that you knew? Did they have industry experience? Did you know they'd be psyched on the vision? Were they people who even officially identified themselves as angels?
So interestingly, the answer is yes to all of them. I think the first piece is any entrepreneur needs to have a really strong network. By the time you're out there raising money, you probably spend a lot of time cultivating your network. So, and I certainly did, as did Lauren. So the first step was really, well, I guess the preliminary step was getting kind of really clear on what we were asking for and sort of what did our deal look like and what did that vision look like and what did that business plan look like. But once we had all of that, it really was then, yes, I went through my own network. Yes, I went to people within my own network asking for introductions who I thought were the right fit. Yes, I went
What's
to...
the right fit exactly?
For us, when I went, that's a good question. And the truth is you don't know. So you have to cast a little bit of a wide net. But, when we went looking for angels, we were looking for people who had experience being investors.
Okay, so they were experienced investors.
They were experienced
and why
investors.
did that matter to you?
You know what? Because I didn't want, I think at the earliest stage, there's kind of this the phrase friends and family, right? And I did not want to start going to my friends and saying, can you write me a check to fund my company? I wanted to, that just wasn't comfortable for me. I wanted to have a formalized business relationship with people who, were going to also provide strategic advice, ask the tough questions. So that was really important. That was really important, for us when we went looking.
What were the expectations your angel investors had? Because one of the things that we hear entrepreneurs talk about a lot, and I certainly see in my work, is the expectations that the angels have. For example, some of them, when they put their money in, they think, okay, I'm going to get 10 times, 30 times, 50 times my investment out, or if not, I'm not going to be an angel. Did you have a kind of expectation with that with your investors, or did you find people that had an expectation that more matched what you were looking for?
Angels are there. All investors are there to make money for their business. So
But aren't angels trying to make less money than VCs, for example?
Right. Not all of them think that, though. They think they're trying to make the same money as VCs
that's
some of the
point I think
time.
we're trying to get at.
Right.
Is, when you say smart angels, did you mean angels who were trying to make 20 times their money, 50 times their money, 5 times their money, or they didn't care?
No, I mean, we really weren't kind of looking at that when we were sort of differentiating. We weren't saying like, what exactly are you expecting? Because the truth is, when you're raising money, when you're starting your business, you're trying to make that 50x. You're trying to make that 50x for yourself and for your angels and everyone involved.
Okay, what about the speed to getting the money or the hassle of getting the money? Was there any advantage to the types of people you were going after?
Yeah, no, we absolutely. I mean, we were very successful. We raised 80% of our money in
and how much
less
was
than
that you raised?
So in our round, we raised $250,000. So
Great.
In how long?
Well, the first kind of commitments of it, $200,000, and now we're going to see if my math is right. I've already claimed to be not the numbers person. We raised the $200,000 in
under
3 months.
That's great.
That's great.
It took
that's really fast.
And this was in 2010 when it was a little bit the market was tight. So certainly by going to independent angels, they had. There was a natural selection process. People who weren't interested were not interested quickly, and people who were, they had the time to give us. We had the time to give them to really do that due diligence and get to know one another and move on it quickly.
Did you have people that were kind of in the middle that said, I kind of want to wait, I'm not really sure? Or did you really have people that fell into two camps?
Most of them fell into two camps.
God, that's pretty lucky.
Most of them fell into two camps.
Well, I think the lesson here is that you want to go to sophisticated angels who are going to make decisions fast, not bug you too much. Good luck with that. Trying to find those is like finding an angel in a haystack. Next up, we're going to talk about how Cari was so phenomenal about getting buzz and traction with the press in her marketing. We're here today with Cari Sommer. She's the co-founder of Urban Interns. Urban Interns is a marketplace for internships. Check it out. And please feel free to ask questions if you'd like. We would love to pose them to Cari. Cari, how did you get your first bit of press? Because you've had a lot of press for such a small company.
Thank you, thank you. You know, the first piece of press was a very lucky break. The first piece of press we
They
got.
all say that.
Well,
All
they've
the
had-
women say
right,
that.
but
It's all luck. You didn't do it.
No. I will tell you. From then on, it was a lot of hard work. But the first piece of press was a good lucky break. We did our initial press release when we launched our official product. You know, we had launched in February 2009 in beta, free beta, and a few months later we had rolled out our revenue model. And when we did that initial launch and we did that initial press release, someone had pointed me towards Business Week. They have an America's Most Promising Startups series, and I got in touch with the right person, and the timing was right, and we got named America's Most Promising Startup, which was amazing. I think part of it is in such a down economy, launching a job board seemed like such a crazy idea.
It was a great story. I mean, if you think about it, it wasn't luck. It was something smart that you were doing.
Sure.
You launched a business at a time where companies needed to have an alternative way to find talent,
Sure.
and a time when people were dying to find any way to make money.
Right.
So I'm not going to say you were lucky. I'm going to say you were smart and they listened.
I appreciate that. From then on, what we did was a part of running a marketplace, you have a lot of data in front of you. So we constantly looked at that data, and especially at a time when people were looking at the economy, looking at hiring, they still are, looking at small business and entrepreneurship. We had a lot of data of seeing who's hiring, what are they hiring for, what do those positions look like, where are those positions, and we looked at our database on a monthly basis to create data reports. And we, reached out to journalists who covered our specific kind of area. Listen, not hi, we're Urban Interns, we're so great. Listen, we see something interesting. We thought you might want to know about it.
So you used your data to
Correct.
basically forecast trends and say, here's what's going on in the
Right.
marketplace.
And
And
to
then
make
everyone wanted to
yourselves
cover
an
you.
expert.
Right.
The
Absolutely.
Expert. Set yourselves up as the expert. I was always nervous about doing that because I thought I would have to hire like McKinsey or somebody to massage the numbers and make them perfect. Were you worried about it being scientific or not?
Well, so here was the back to the perfect partnership. So, we had talked previously, I had began my career as a litigator, was, sort of started my career with that skill set of how do you make a good story and presentation, and Lauren is wonderful with the numbers. So if I had to go out there with the Excel spreadsheets, that would be a problem. But kind of having that combination of really, really great data, constantly have great data and be able to kind of put it together. And we built relationships over time. I'm not going to say that, every time we sent an email, we got a response. We certainly didn't. When I talk to people about, buzz press for early stage startups, it takes a lot of work. So kind of that combination.
Well, so you've done some amazing things with data to really get press and build the profile of the company and get a lot of free marketing. Let's talk about your users. Tell us about who they are.
Sure. So we see about 55% are female and 45% are male. In terms of 18 to 24, sort of that young college age demographic, about 19%. And excuse me, as I'm referring to my notes, I've already said that my co-founder partner is the numbers one.
Don't apologize.
Exactly. Don't apologize. It's right. It's fine. We can't remember everything. Continue.
Exactly. 24% are in the 25 to 34 demographic. So, and then we have another 25 that are 35 to 44. So, we definitely skew kind of on the young professional college age. 42% have a college degree and 15% have a graduate degree.
Did you spend any time studying who the journalists were out on the scene and figuring out who to target?
Yes, definitely. Kind of finding out who was writing stories, and absolutely. About small business and about entrepreneurship and about kind of the college market. And so it wasn't as much feeding them information about our demographic as much as kinds of jobs. So we always see a lot of social media positions. That's been number one. We see virtual positions. That's been something that has remained about 1/3 to 40% of positions on our site. So that's the kind of information that we would look at and try and
so you would say something like, we're seeing a lot of virtual internship on the site. What does this mean about
about how people are working and how businesses are tapping into kind of a more remote workforce.
Right.
Cool. I think the lesson here is don't sit on your data, baby. Every company is generating data of some sort. You have to dig into your data and actually use it to be productive on the marketing front. You can tell journalists do little packages, talk to journalists, sit down with journalists, have lunch with journalists. They're not scary people. The other thing I would recommend is write a blog on your site and make sure to point the media to the blog and what you're finding, and put your findings on the blog. So this is some great advice from Cari. Next up, we're going to talk about what's next for Cari and Urban Interns. We're here with Cari Sommer, who's the co-founder of Urban Interns, which is a marketplace for interns, obviously. We've been talking a lot about various things from marketing to how to have a partner, basically. Oh, we have a question. How different from Craigslist or Snag-a-Job are you? That's one of our users writing in.
Yes, so we love that question. Thank you. Craigslist is a great site. Obviously, there's so much volume.
You never say anything bad about anybody.
I mean, it's Craigslist. Nobody could say anything bad about Craigslist, right? I mean,
I think there's some people who have
I'm not going to say anything
really
bad
bad
about
situations that did, but nonetheless.
That's not for me. So Craigslist, I mean, there's a huge volume. So as a Craigslist, you know, you post a job and you see kind of that flood of responses on day one, maybe day two, but then it tends to taper off. We're both a posting site and a database. So we're kind of that hybrid model between transactional, post the job, and then with that $50 price point, you get access to our database for 30 days. So
and that's very valuable.
Yes.
Access to the database is extremely valuable.
Yeah, and the paid model, I imagine, gets you a much higher quality on both sides, both of postings and of users.
Craigslist is paid, darling. It's $75 per post.
Yes, but we won't go into views on Craigslist. Like, do you want to have those kinds of jobs that posted next to 17,000 kinds, whereas yours are much more focused and focused on small to medium-sized business?
Do you have to post? Do you have to pay to post a resume?
No.
I think you would get a better quality candidate if you did, but you probably wouldn't get any interns.
Right.
Well, let's talk about growth. I mean, what are the ways that Urban Interns wants to grow now? You're operating in New York, you're operating in a number of other metropolitan areas.
Yes.
What does the future of the company look like?
Sure. I mean, definitely to continue to grow our database, you know, continue to grow our database, continue to grow our brand. We've started a number of partnerships with companies like the Princeton Review,
Tell
Admit
us about
Advantage.
The partnership. That sounds exciting.
Yes, it has been exciting. So, you know, when we have invested a lot of time in building our brand through press, through content, becoming an expert, you know, we look for brands that we think are, you know, kind of aligned with where we are in the market. And, you know, we look for ways to offer kind of integrated, innovative ways for these brands to get in front of our audience.
So give us an example, because that's all very beautiful and theoretical.
Thank you. Thank you.
Break it down for the people.
Exactly. So something like with our Princeton Review partnership, you know, we send out weekly newsletters. We'll promote sort of events that they have going on. Princeton Review is a perfect partner because so many college students, young professionals, they're thinking about graduate school. So
and
things
they need
like
to take tests,
correct.
and they need to plan for that,
Absolutely.
and study, and all that.
So, you know, great partner. We're
And
thinking.
your email newsletter is how many people?
I mean, it's our
50,000?
database. It's our database.
Okay.
So, you know, they're really content partnerships. So based on the email newsletter, social media promotion, you know, if there's something we want to talk about on our blog. So we'll definitely continue to grow our partnerships, grow our brands, our user base, and, you know, we're hoping as our next goal to get to break even by the end of the year.
Now, is some of this growth going to be funded through organic revenue, or do you plan on raising another round?
Right now, organic revenue. Right now, you know, through organic revenue. So that's kind of on tap for us.
So Jennifer, put on your problem-solving hat here. If you owned this company and you were going to expand or do something, what would you do?
The first couple things I'd focus on is the national expansion. I mean, the brilliant thing about this model is, of course, it's virtual and you're focused on a job area that not a lot of people are. I mean, I think that the viewer's question was actually quite timely, and the fact that Urban Interns is so differentiated from other job boards means that you guys have a lot of room where nobody else is playing, but you need to go after it. So that means finding either more part-time folks that can start getting more and more job postings and building your database. And I think the partnerships that you're doing are really, really smart, because that's a great way to start influxing, you know, not only more postings, but also a lot more people who can be using the site. But that said, is that something that you can do on organic revenue? One of those tricky places that companies get into is they really want to grow, but they can't necessarily do it with the revenues that they have. So then they decide, am I going to take money in? And that's that piece of growing that you and Lauren have to decide, like, do we really want to step up and sell a little bit more of the company in order to grow faster
Right.
versus maybe taking a little bit more time in order
Right.
to get there on our own.
And remember, this is a very competitive marketplace.
Absolutely.
And there's a low barrier to entry for urban interns.
Right.
What I would do, and then you can respond to either of us, is I would probably take that brand and do more with the brand name. You've got a really great brand, great relationship with the press. I would use it to create my own classes and seminars. I would use it to create maybe a membership, maybe events, offline stuff, as well as online stuff.
Right.
And T-shirts for sure.
That's because Laurel wants free stuff. So the next time we expect Urban Interns
I want
t-shirts.
Urban Intern T-shirt. I just
Right.
think it's a cool name. I would, Media Bistro does these intern parties every, once in a while, and we invite all the interns in the city to a party. I think you guys should be doing that every quarter in major cities.
Right. No, they're both very good suggestions. I think definitely thinking about ways that we could continue to kind of leverage the brands and definitely, I mean, it is a tricky question about funding, and I guess the good thing is it's not something we need to do at this moment, but it's always on the horizon about can you kind of get to that next level. But we've sort of set our milestones for the year of can we get to break even and kind of see where we're going from there. But it's a good point.
Well, we'd love to hear more suggestions from the audience. Laurel's blog post will be up tomorrow about the show today, so please feel free to send your suggestions in.
Yeah.
Let Cari and her team know what you think Urban Interns should do.
Last question for Cari. What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? That's a good one.
Other than the baby kicking.
I think it's just the to-do list. The to-do list in every entrepreneur's mind. The good news is by the end of the days, I'm so tired that I tend to fall asleep. But, the to-do list, just kind of continuing to think about getting it all done and being able to cross things off your list and do it well and continue to get great traction and momentum.
My prediction for Urban Interns is that they're going to sell to Princeton Review.
Ooh!
So mark my words. Princeton Review, you listening?
Exactly. If you're watching, you heard it here first.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining in. We'll be here next week at Wednesday at 1:30. And here's to a new year. Exciting. A new you, a new business, and new funding if you so desire.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.